All right, we are live now. So let me. Yeah, now the viewers are going up. It's we have got 9 right now. I'm posting the registration link. Hey, thanks everyone for joining. I posted the link. Hello everyone. We'll start in about 2 to 3 minutes. I've shared the registration link for those of you who want to actually do the hands-on workshop. Hello everyone. I've shared a link in the chat. Please register. So if you want to participate on the hands-on workshop, that link will be useful. That will give you access to our cluster where we are going to deploy Open Project and Postgres. So we'll give it another minute. Checking with the team. We have a team waiting in Slack to support those of you who want to do hands-on. So please use the registration link and make sure that you enter your Git ID as well as register to log into our Slack, where our support team, our delivery team is waiting to help you out. All right, so it's about 3 minutes and 40 seconds. So let's start. Hello, everyone. My name is Rajat Krishnan, and I have with me Sanjeev. So today we are going to cover the deployment of Open Project with Postgres as the database backend. And this is going to be deployed on Kubernetes using our low-touch cloud platform, AppZ. We're going to use GitOps. And today we are going to deploy onto a private cluster running Nutanix. Sanjeev, go ahead. Do you want to add anything to that?
Sure, Rajat. At the outset, I would like to say that this is our kind of like the Postgres webinar series, part of the Postgres webinar series. We had telecast our first webinar where we had given the Postgres master slave deployment, running it in the resilient manner. The second webinar, which we telecast maybe 2 weeks ago, all these webinars are available on the YouTube. You can find them on our channel. That was the Spring Boot Java application connecting to Postgres. And this is in the third in the series. We will continue, Postgres being one of the most popular database. But today's topic is more that how I would say the enterprise grade applications, open source, uh, like open project, is utilizing the Postgres and also bringing the entire project management software as an open source tool. So that's what we'll be doing. There are three components that will get deployed, and all will be getting deployed on a upstream Kubernetes cluster running with AppG platform. And the first component that will get deployed would be HashiCorp Vault. And the purpose of the vault would be to store all the secrets, the Postgres, the database secrets, uh, and the open project, the secret, everything will get stored in the vault. And runtime, the Postgres database as well as the open project, which will be running as pod, will be retrieving the secret from the vault and managing the workload. The next, we will be deploying a Postgres. You will see that we will be deploying a Postgres master. I will explain that what does that mean. And the last, we will be deploying the open project, which is an open source project management tool. We'll be giving some more details about that and overall the project management and where this open project kind of like fits into that space. So lots to kind of like uncover. So Rajit, like let's get started.
Okay, so a couple of things before we jump in. I have shared the link to register for workshop. So this will enable you to sign up so that you can get access to the cluster. That's a Kubernetes cluster that we are hosting today to run and deploy these applications or these components. So please do register, and then once you register, part of the registration process is also to sign up in Slack so that you can communicate to our team who's going to help you through this process. So a little bit about AppZ. So it's a low-touch cloud platform. So Sanjeev, you want to add and give us an idea of what AppZ Stack is all about, or AppZ platform is all about?
Sure. This AppG platform that we have built with one goal in mind, that your software and the software that you are building, or some of the software that you want to consume from open source directly, and that's the scenario today. This software open project is available in the community edition is available for free, and you want to consume it, you want to run it in the most resilient fashion in your own premise, uh, running in a Kubernetes cluster. But the whole challenge becomes that how to manage a Kubernetes cluster, where to get the image from. So we are solving that whole problem. Whether you are developing your own application, Python, Java, .NET, whatever technology you're using, or you want to consume a open source or even a commercial applications, run it in a resilient manner on a Kubernetes cluster. AppG platform brings to you a pre-packaged, pre-built upstream Kubernetes cluster, and all kind of like the bells and whistles, like the certificate, the ingress, the load balancer, everything is ready, and everything is ready for the GitOps. All you bring is either your source code or your configuration for the open source or the commercial the software that you want to deploy. And the deployment happens using the GitOps, that you make the changes either in your code or make changes in the configuration in your Git, and it will get deployed seamlessly, and you will have the full tracking information that how your software is getting built as well as deployed on the Kubernetes cluster. uh, that is brought by AppG platform. We also have ability that if you want to use a third-party cluster or a cloud cluster, we have full integration, and we can enable that also. In today's workshop, what we are demonstrating is Nutanix hypervisor, AHV hypervisor. We are running a three virtual machine Kubernetes cluster, and one master and two worker node. and we will be deploying all the workloads. Now, say 10 of you are participating in this workshop, hands-on. Uh, all 10 of them will have the Evolve deployment, a Postgres deployment, and an open project deployment, all within your own personal namespace that is kind of like derived out of your Git ID, and it will be running on the worker nodes node 1 or node 2, depending upon that how Kubernetes distributes the workload. So lot to kind of like we will be going over and explaining you that how this is working. Now, what we bring here is the simplicity. You don't need to have the know the details about the Docker, Kubernetes, load balancer, ingress, and all, certificate and all. Everything is happening. All you in this case will be doing is just the configuring from your GitHub repository.
Okay, so earlier, you mentioned about the Vault. So, can you give us the importance of, or kind of touch on the importance of Vault and how that is getting integrated to Postgres and Open Project?
That's a good question, Rajat. Now, the Vault, and as I said earlier, that Vault is the first component that we deploy in any context or for any user. So this is you can say that on the Kubernetes cluster, you have your own namespace, and the first pod that goes in is HashiCorp Vault, which will manage all the secrets that you want to store. And we'll show you as we'll go through your Git repository that how the Vault is integrated. But the idea here is that do not store any secret in your GitHub repository. Uh, in fact, this is a big no, but I have seen working with so many clients that everyone does that, and it's not secure. And that's the reason, many of these hacks are happening because the GitHub is not designed to manage your secrets, and you should not be putting the secrets or the passwords or the keys um, in the clear text in your GitHub repository. People think that it is private, but all sort of hack happens, and your software secret, will get leaked, and it will damage you. Now, by presenting Vault, what we are doing here is that we are giving a inbuilt secret management for the Kubernetes cluster. You just and we will show you that how in your Git repository, you can, in the manifest file, you can easily, instead of putting the hard coding the secret, you can say that, yep, let the secret be pulled from the Vault at the runtime by the pod which needs the secret. So there's a lot of the tightening around the security we have done, and we'll explain it to you once you are interacting with your GitHub repository.
Okay, so those of you who are joining now, please look at the link on the chat. That will give you the form that you can register. This workshop is hands-on, so those of you who want to do hands-on, please click on the link and register. And this will also enable you to log into our Slack, where we can help you out in if you get stuck for any reason or if you have any questions. So moving on to the cluster, before we jump on to the demo or the workshop, I also want to kind of touch on the cluster. So Sanjeev, you mentioned this is a Nutanix cluster. Can you give us the role of the different nodes as well as the role of the different URLs that we are going to use today?
Sure. And before that, I see a question from Rajesh Kumar that AppG is owned by you guys. So AppG platform is available in AWS Marketplace, and we are trying to make it more and more self-service. And whether you are adopting a cloud, AWS, Azure, GCP, whatever cloud you want to go to, or even if you want to run the AppG platform on your private data center. So yes, this is a software that we are bringing like lots of functionality to mask the complexity of the cloud, even running a private data center, the Docker, Kubernetes, open source, secret management, certificates. there are so many challenges that the developers and the small and the enterprise, small and large space, to take an application to run in a most resilient manner. And we are bringing this platform to you so that you can focus on your core competency, which is translating your business, domain business logic, into the software. So with that, let me go over the cluster which we have in the place. So it's a 3-node cluster, one master and two worker node, as you can see. The master node is where most of the AppZ platform components are running. And these components are our dashboard, which you will see once you sign up. And if you're participating in the workshop, you will get access to the dashboard as well. Then AppZ platform, which is the GitOps engine, is part of the AppZ, and it is also running on the master node, and it is orchestrating, retrieving your either the source code or configuration from your GitHub repository and deploying it on the cluster on the worker nodes. If you're participating in the workshop, most of your workload, which the Vault, maybe the Postgres, and the open project, the software itself, will be running in one of the worker nodes, node 1 or node 2. That's how the Kubernetes works. Master node is used for the control plane, and we have put our own platform also side by side by the control plane on the master node. And the node 1 and node 2 are managing most of the workload. Some workload belong to AppZ platform also. We'll explain it to you, especially Elastic and other components, which is gathering the data from your running pods and making those visible from the AppZ dashboard. So we'll explain that as we go along. But this is how we have converted a Kubernetes cluster, and in this case, this Kubernetes cluster also comes pre-built with the AppZ platform into a ready-to-use kind of like the GitOps enabled platform, so that all you focus on your code and your source code repository. That's all.
Okay. Now, about the AppZ platform and how we use GitOps to deploy to Kubernetes. So first of all, the question is, in order to deploy any of these workloads into Kubernetes, do I need to know anything about Kubernetes? Do I need to learn the complex Kubernetes manifest files, things like that?
The answer is no. Of course, learning is, if you want to learn, you should learn, but you don't need to know the complexities of Docker and Kubernetes, and these are complex technology. Like, believe me that a lot of enterprises are struggling to put their heads around that how to run a resilient Kubernetes cluster on-prem. That is just the Kubernetes cluster itself. What we are offering you is that not only an upstream Kubernetes cluster with all the automations like layer, ingress controller, the load balancer, the GitOps enablement, the logging and monitoring, all these things are available in a kind of like the built-in format, and all you focus on writing your code. So where you sit into this picture is on the left-hand side. Either you are part of a development team, you're developing your code, Java, Python, whatever language you have, and we have a stacks to kind of, we'll explain it to you that how the stack technology works, and it will take your code and deploy on the platform. Or you're part of the operations team, you are simply configuring. So in today's case, I would say that you are wearing the hat of an operations team, and you are establishing a open project infrastructure, you can call it, or open project of the platform running on top of the Kubernetes cluster, which your team or kind of like your enterprise can use. And in this case, you are deploying it in a full self-service mode without the knowledge of that how the Docker Kubernetes works, how the infrastructure is kind of like underlying is supporting this, or even how the Postgres works and how the open. You don't have to know any of those things. You are simply doing a commit on your GitHub repository, and we take the complete complexity out of your domain and deploy it on the cluster. Now, how it is happening, let me give you a quick overview. And as we go along, we will be discussing this picture again and again. So you will be making a simple commit in your GitHub repository, and by forking our some of our public repo that we have already put into place. And as you make the commit, and that commit is integrated with a AppG platform via webhook, which is the first arrow is there. That commit will trigger a build process on the AppG platform where you can see the gears. And the AppG platform, which it will do is that it will take a prefabricated AppG stacks. Those stacks are a prefabricated template which can take your configuration or take your source code, make an immutable build, store it in the registry, which also comes pre-built as part of the AppG platform, and deploy it on the Kubernetes cluster. And this entire workflow, how the build is happening, how the deployment is happening, how the secrets are getting pulled, any time of like the runtime, any time of like the startup log or the runtime monitoring, everything will be visible from the observability dashboard, which is at the bottom. And it also has the Grafana integration, so that you can Grafana and Prometheus integration, so you can see the live performance of the entire cluster and also drill down at the pod level. So there's a lot to kind of like go over, and we will be visiting this slide again and again. So Rajit, why don't we continue and start doing some real work?
Okay, let's do that. So the format that we're going to use today is I'm going to share my screen, and Sanjeev, with the support of our team in Slack, is going to help me go through the workshop, and I'll be doing hands-on, and I'll share my screen, and you can see what I'm doing. And so for those of you who are joining now, please use our link. It's in the chat to register. Once you register, you will be able to join our Slack, and you'll get access to our cluster so that we can start hands-on deployments. So let me share the screen. Once you register, you are going to get an email similar to this. And this basically, when you click on that link, it will take you to the registration process. It's basically making sure that your email is accurate and it's activating your account. And once you activate your account, you will reach our dashboard, which is, you will not see any records. I will say no data to display because you haven't deployed any application yet. So this is our dashboard. So Sanjeev, you want to kind of touch on, a very high level what this dashboard is capable of, and what we will be seeing in the next few minutes.
Well, that's good. So as you can see that that dashboard is listing the applications, and this is the I would say the user dashboard where if I'm part of the 5-6 applications, all the applications will get listed here. And as your components are getting deployed, if you're participating in the workshop, you will start seeing the name of the application and the target, which is kind of like the context where it is getting deployed, and the build aspect of the application. And the build includes that in this case, it will be just the configuration that is getting pulled from the Git. But if you have the real applications like Spring Boot, Java Spring Boot, or .NET, you will see that application getting built and all the logs. So whatever you do as part of your day-to-day development on your desktop, you will see the entire log getting displayed as part of the build. Once the build is complete, the image, an immutable image, get pushed to the Docker registry. In this case, the registry, which is part of our platform itself, but we have integration capability with external registry as well. And then moving on to the deploy section, you will see, so there will be a kind of the line item where the build, deploy, runtime monitoring, and everything will be visible for all the three components that will get deployed. And in this case, if you're participating in the workshop, you will see three line items, one for Vault, second for the Postgres, and the third one will be for the open project.
Okay. So we're going to wait for a couple more minutes for everyone to activate. So I know the emails are sent out. So once you sign up, you will be joining our general channel. So please, wait for instructions there. We will post all the steps, all the links that you need will be posted on general channel, and you can follow exactly what I am doing. You should be able to follow yourself and deploy this application. So let's give it one more minute. I see that a few folks are registering now. Okay, so the first deployment that we're going to do is Vault. So Sanjeev, can you kind of give us an overview of how the Vault is going, what steps we are going to follow, and then I'll share the screen and let's follow that.
Yeah. So for Vault deployment and for all the the deployment, we will go to our public repository in the eCloud Control, the GitHub organization, and you will fork it to your personal GitHub and make some minor changes. And before making the minor changes, you will be making you will be adding a webhook so that your public repository is integrated with the AppG platform against which you are deploying the code. So Rajit is going to fork eCloud Control Vault repository in his personal, and you will follow the same step.
So I forked it.
And then we will be making the settings change to add the webhooks, and Rajit will be posting the webhook URL.
So I'm going to settings, then webhooks, and so we're going to wait for the webhook link to be shared. So Anusha, please share the link. Okay, there it is. So take the link. That is the link that ends with post receive. So I'm going to take that, paste it in the payload URL, change the content type to application JSON, and add webhook. So now this adds the webhook to the Vault project that I just forked.
Some repository call it like service hook, and so we support all source code management system like the GitLab, Bitbucket, GitHub, Code Commit. So whatever you're using, we have the webhook enablement for all of them. Different repository calls it by different name, so it just need to be configured, and we will support it. So if you are using some other source control system other than GitHub, no worries.
All right. So what is the next step, Sanjeev?
Next step would be that we will be making a minor change in the AppG YAML. And AppG YAML is a manifest file which governs that how the build deployment will be happening. And in case you are deploying your applications, this file needs to be added. This manifest file needs to be added to integrate your existing GitHub repository with the AppG platform. So in this case, it's a Vault deployment. So Rajit is making just two changes. One is the notify. You put your email address so that you will get the notification once the deployment is done. And the second change we are making here is to context. And this context is your Git ID/dev. So replace the word in front of the dev with your personal Git ID, because based on your Git ID, we are creating a context / namespace on the Kubernetes cluster, and that is where the deployment will be happening. The Vault, then Postgres, and then the open project. So that's all, Rajat, and other things will remain the same. I will make one statement here that this is a persistent, I would say like a stateful, the Vault application with the storage, as you can see, the volumes attached, and all these things are getting created for you on the fly. We don't have to know the Docker, Kubernetes, anything. It's and this is coming out of the AppGS stack. Can you highlight the image template, which is Vault 1.2? This is the stack which is getting used to create the pod. And we have hundreds of such stacks, like across all the technology. And for all the deployments, you will see that we are using a pre-curated stack. In this case, it will be Vault, then the Postgres and the Open project. And that stacks is getting merged with the configuration that you are proposing here, getting built into a new image, and that image will get deployed on the cluster.
All right. So can I commit the change now?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, a few more things about the stacks I would like to mention that of course you can download the Vault image from open source and deploy it. What we are doing here is that not only the Vault image is deployed, it's a open source Vault image plus add-on capabilities for it to integrate natively or directly with your application. We also have the auto password generation capability. And as the Vault pod is running, you will see that the runtime logs for the Vault is integrated with our Elastic. So you can see the health of the Vault, the running pod directly from our dashboard. So there are a lot of kind of like add-on capabilities that our platform brings to make it more manageable. And our whole goal is that you don't have to log into a privileged infrastructure, be it cloud or on-prem. You don't have to have a kind of the root access or the read access to the server to look into that how your application, whether it's your business application or infrastructure, is running. As we will walk you through from this dashboard, that you have the complete trace of the application getting deployed and even the runtime monitoring right out of from this URL.
Okay, so I'm in the dashboard now. I can see that Vault has been deployed. So can you walk us through the different links here?
Sure. So as I had mentioned earlier, that there will be a line item for every application that gets deployed. So in this case, the Vault got deployed, and I can see the name of the application. I can see that target where it got deployed. So it deployed in the dev environment and Rajit_dev context. We create a separate namespace. So if you are deploying, it will go to a separate one, and your Vault will be different from the Vault we are seeing here. Now let's look into the build log. Now, the build log is detailing that what triggered the build. So, Rajit, why don't we just go and see that what triggered the build? And in this case, we can see that Rajit made 2 changes in the GitHub repository, and that triggered the build via the webhook that was set up. So you have a complete traceability that how your build, and if it is a real application, you can see that where all the material change in the application happened to trigger the build. So let's go back to the. Now, in this case, we are taking the image template, which is the AppGS stacks, as mentioned in the AppGYAML, and merging with the configuration that you have put. In this case, like there's no configuration; they are just made your email address you added and the context added. You can see that line number 13 pulling from the AppG Vault. So it is taking the image and merging with the configurations. The build process is very simple here because it's just layering some of the configuration on top of what is already part of the prefabricated template. And then let's go down once the image is built, then we will push the image to the repository. As you can see that we have a built-in registry.hex.cloud. That is where this image is getting pushed. And a hash is also getting created. So it's an immutable image stored in our registry. If you are using a other registry, Artifactory, Nexus, and all, we have full integration capability as well. So that kind of like completes the build part. We have an immutable Docker image that can go right on the Kubernetes cluster. So let's go to the deploy section, Rajit, now. So this section, I would say, like, is always interesting because most of the organizations struggle in this space. That I have a Docker image, but how do I deploy it on the Kubernetes cluster with the full traceability and all? And the Kubernetes deployment mostly requires a manifest creation and all. And some people use Helm, some people like, and they kind of like the steep learning curve to learn the Kubernetes deployment. What we are bringing to you here is that you don't have to learn those complexities. We take care of all those complexities, and we create the manifest file on the fly for you. So if you say that, yeah, we can say that, you can click the 51 line item. So based on the image and based on the parameters that you selected, we have created a manifest file for you on the fly, and we are storing it for audit purposes. And this manifest file is the one which will get executed against the Kubernetes cluster. In this case, our own cluster, which is part of the AbbVie platform, or this could be a cluster sitting in the cloud, EKS, AKS, or whatever you have chosen. This manifest file will be used to deploy that, and you have the full traceability. Now, as part of the deployment, if there is any secret involved, and that you will see, in fact, this is the secret management, the store creation itself. But if there is, and the vault is getting initialized, vault is getting, like, a lot of things are happening behind the scene. You don't have to know even the vault. And as you can see that the vault is you can consider the vault as a part of the infrastructure that is getting deployed for you on the Kubernetes cluster as the first pod to manage the secrets. And then you will see that how the Postgres deployment will consume, either establish a secret or consume a secret from the vault.
All right, I'm closing this and then moving on to the next column, which is
monitor. Yeah, so this is the part where we have the preliminary health check monitoring. So let's click that. We have the running pod statistics in terms of the CPU memory and that how this pod is running. And then we will also like to look into, and you can just scroll down, there are multiple, like 10 to 15 like different type of statistics that we gather here. And then the most important part from the developer perspective and from the operational perspective for troubleshooting is the logging part, runtime log, which is visible from here. So as you can see that as the vault got deployed, any log that is getting generated by the pod is available for you to view here. Now, how does this work? Now, AbbVie platform comes built in with certain components for the logging and monitoring. In this case, the data you are seeing here is coming out of Elastic. So we have every AbbVie stack that we are providing you, in this case, Vault, is integrating with the Fluentd. So the logs, as they getting written in the pod, they are getting shipped to the Elastic, which is running on the same cluster. And with the Graylog integration, we are able to present you the complete logging data. So your pod may be like continue deleting the data, keeping recycling the old log, but your Elastic, you can keep a certain number of days, whatever like you want to manage, and keep the log intact for you to view. So our AbbVie platform itself consists of close to 12 to 15 open source components, and gives a complete holistic experience of a complete software development environment where you don't have to learn the complexity of Docker, Kubernetes Cloud, so many other things. You simply bring your application or a configuration and deploy it.
All right, I'm going to close this. Now, are we moving on to the next?
Yes. Yes. So the vault is complete, and next we will move to the Postgres.
All right. So let's wait for Anusha to share the link to the Postgres repo. It's pretty much the same steps we're going to follow, right? Just clone it.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah.
All right. So Anusha just shared the link. So I'm going to go to I'm in the Postgres Open Project Postgres repo. It's also a public repo. I'm going to fork it first. And then add the webhook. So going to settings, then hit webhook, and taking the webhook URL. Pasted it in payload URL, then change the content type to application JSON and hit webhook. So it's added. So now I'm going to open the apps YAML and pretty much everything remains the same, right?
Let me explain, because if now, as you can see that the Vault deployment was plain vanilla, because you are deploying it without any kind of like the configuration change. And that gives you an underlying infrastructure for the secret management. But let me explain in this case that once we deploy a Postgres, how it is getting integrated with Vault, that's one thing, and how this Postgres repo is customized for the open project Postgres establishment. Now, Postgres, if you deploy directly from the open source, it will be a blank database. We have added, as I said, the additional facilities here in terms of creating a pre-seeded database or pre-seeded schema, and I will explain that to you, and also the Vault integration. So the top part, the build part, you can look at that we are using an image called Postgres Master 13.3. So that's the version we are using, and the reason we are calling it Postgres Master, because we have a slave database also, which can replicate on a real-time basis from the Postgres Master. That was one of the webinar maybe a month ago, and you can look up on the YouTube how to run Postgres in a resilient manner, maybe multi-AG, multi-region, master-slave model, and that's what you need to run a production-grade application. Although we will not be covering that today, you can watch the webinar which we had telecasted a month ago. But in this case, we are simply establishing a Postgres master database, and later on, a slave can be added to that. Now, this Postgres master template, Rajit will be making the changes to deploy in the right context and all. You can see the volumes which is getting used. And Rajit, can you scroll down? In the properties sections, I would like to highlight that, as you can see, that some of the passwords, like PostgreSQL password, the PGPA passwords, now these passwords are getting auto-generated by Vault. If you remember, like the Vault we deployed, which had the enable auto-generation password is equal to true. So as the passwords are getting are needed, they are getting generated by the Vault, and also will be getting consumed at the runtime. So you don't have to kind of like set these things up, or like know. If you want to know, there are the ways, and we can show you how to do that. But in this case, everything is getting auto-generated, and the password and the secrets are available on a need-to-know basis, and it's not kind of like the widely like available or not part of the GitHub repository. Now, there are other parameters which are specific to convert this into a master-slave model, which I will not be covering into the details. I will focus on there is a password that we are setting, which is the PostgreSQL open project password, which Rajit is highlighting, and I will point to like how this is getting used. So to establish a open project, which is persistent, is provided by the Postgres database. You have to have a Postgres database, a user for open project to connect to, we have made it completely self-service. So you don't have to log into the Postgres to create a new database, create a new user, grant the necessary ACL. Everything is done right out of this repo. And the password for this open project user is getting generated here. Now, Rajit, let's switch to the setup.yaml. We want to show them that how. Now, open project, as you will be seeing in the next deployment, it requires a database. So we are pre-creating a Postgres database called open project. That's the second line item. We are pre-creating a user in the Postgres database called open project. And the password is getting set from the vault, which, as you can see, the $sign. So you're not mentioning the password anywhere. The vault is generating, managing, and providing the password on the runtime. We are given the role, the super user. You decide what type of role you want to give. We are given this so that it can create all the tables. It can create necessary objects. And then we are also creating a schema for the storage of the files related to this database. So this complete packaging, the kind of like the preceding the database and the user creation for open project is happening through the setup.yaml. And if you watch our previous videos, the similar thing we had done for the Spring Boot, the application, we have also ability to take a pre-seed of the data, take a kind of like the export it from somewhere, or like create a pre-seeded database as well. Although that is not required in this case, because open project will connect to the database and create all the tables and the data when it logs in for the first time. So again, to summarize, this is not a plain vanilla open source Postgres. What we are giving you a prefabricated template which is ready to use for the open project, and you can customize this Postgres for your personal, like the business application. You don't have to log into the infrastructure to do these type of tasks. That's what we are giving to you. You always do a GitOps. If I take you back to the picture, you always remain as the developer, operations team, or maybe approver, and you do not log into the privileged infrastructure to do these type of tasks. All these tasks are done for you in a fully automated, self-service, and audited way using the GitOps.
All right, so I'm going to go back. So I need to edit the apps YAML. I already added the webhook. So now I'm going to apps YAML. I'm going to change the app notify section. And I'm going to change the deploy context to my personal context. Any other changes here?
No other changes, Rajat.
Okay. So I'm going to commit. And again, behind the scenes, this is the magic that's going on. So
that's correct.
Yeah.
In this case, also you are wearing the hat of an operations team. You are setting up infrastructure, and it depends upon the size of your organization. You could be a developer who needs a Postgres database, or you could be an operations team who is setting up a Postgres database for a other team. You're following the same process. You're following the same kind of like the GitOps, and making the necessary configuration changes. For Postgres, in this case, we are configuring for as per the setup.yaml, we are configuring for open project. You could be configuring for your business applications or some other infrastructure application that you want to deploy. It follows the same step. Postgres image template 13.3 is getting pulled from the app stacks, the repository. And these configurations, your setup.yaml, the changes in the app.yaml getting merged into the a single image in the app.g platform, which is the GitOps engine, stored in the registry, and then deployed on the cluster. So
it looks like it's deployed. Again, same, I can click on the success here and see the build log.
Exact same process. You can follow that what triggered the build as well as now let's look into the
So this is the startup log from the Postgres.
we can say yep, that's right.
Looks like it did all the initialization. So anything else you want to cover here? While I want to give some time for others to catch up.
Yeah, and yeah, so I would say that as I mentioned at the beginning, that this is the part of the Postgres series also. We will be covering in future the Postgres plus the .NET application. Postgres is one of the most popular databases, and we have full functionality to run the Postgres in the most resilient manner, uh, from like setting it up in the master slave manner, like taking a backup. If I didn't mention that, but if you look at the repository, we also have, if you want the backup to be stored certain externally, maybe an S3 bucket, maybe a WebDAV interface. So we have all those like we want everything to be automated. So any task that within your organizations you do it more than once, and you want to have the full audit trail of the task, that should be automated. And automated in automated with full audit trails, so that you can go back 6 months, 1 year down the line and see that what exactly happened. Now, one thing which we are not demonstrating you here, and I should mention, is that all these deployments are happening against the dev infrastructure. So between build and deploy, it's a seamless transfer, and our platform is aware that for dev deployment, let's not wait for any approval or review between build and deployment. But if you deploy against the QA and prod, that's not the case. Most of the time, you need to have someone reviewing it, approving it before it should get deployed. And there may be a QA in the mix, which we would like to do the QA before like deployment in the prod. So we have a approval process also built in as part of our AppG platform, or you can add on either the Git-based approval or like some custom approval, integrate in this whole workflow, and we fully support that. So like again, Rajat, myself, and the whole team comes from the enterprise background, financial services, and we understand that we understood early on that what it takes to run the application in the resilient manner, and as well as the which is fully the with full regulatory compliance. And we have built those aspects into the AppG platform and AppG stacks. That way, like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel again and again and figure this out. All you focus on your kind of like the Git repository on your business applications.
All right. So now let's move on to the deployment of Open Project. So Anusha is going to share the link. And we will pretty much follow the same process. So let me check with the team if how everyone else is doing. So one of the key aspects of the platform is, when it comes to hiding the complexity of Kubernetes, the platform does a really good job. We have seen customers struggling with Kubernetes. That could be just basic Kubernetes knowledge. Also, configuring the Kubernetes in the right with the right configuration. Then dealing with the complexity, like managing the ingress, managing the certificates, keeping the ports secure, Things like that are, I mean, Kubernetes does a lot of cool things, but at the same time, it's a complex system. So as you can see, we already deployed two components, and I did not touch Kubernetes at all. But on the other hand, it's completely running on Kubernetes. Behind the scenes, we are generating the manifest required. And one other important piece is secret management, right? So a lot of enterprises struggle with that. So we have a very unique way of integrating secrets. And one of the things that we do is, as we are integrating the even if you, let's say, as a system or administrator or an operator going into the pod, you will not be able to see the secrets because we are injecting the secrets right into the process, and that's a very unique way of doing that. And it's all done without any code changes required in the underlying application or the open source projects. So now at this point, I'm going to go back to the screen. Anusha had shared the open project, so I'm going to go to that link now.
And Rajat, I just want to, since we talked about the Kubernetes, one important aspect is the day two operation. So that is something which is a complete complex task in itself, and we have kind of like automated lots of day two operations, because anybody can take you to the Kubernetes and make it work one time, but how to manage kind of like going forward, and with less knowledge, and I would say that more resiliency and better audit trail. That is where our product science, like that involves that Kubernetes upgrade itself, because Kubernetes is itself is a moving target, and they are releasing new version almost every year.
That's right, and I believe every every release there are some APIs that are getting deprecated.
Yes.
So using apps, you don't have to worry about any of that because you're not directly dealing with Kubernetes. The platform takes care of it for you. All the manifests are created automatically and managed automatically for you. So which means when an API gets deprecated, you don't even know that it happened, right? It's the platform deals with that. All right, so let's deploy open project. So now I have
Let's fork it first. Fork it first.
Okay, let me do that. So I'm going to go grab the webhook URL. So I pasted it in payload URL, and then I changed the content type to application JSON, and then added it. Now going back to the source code, opening the apps YAML. So Sanjay, you wanted to walk us through the apps YAML for this?
That's correct. So let's start with the build section, and we are deploying the open project version 11.3, and you can see that image template. Again, this image template also right out of the open source open project, and then we have added the Vault integration capability. We have added the Fluentd integration for the logging and monitoring, and like kind of like presenting the similar type of the GitOps interface. That way, you just use this repo to deploy the open project. You don't have to learn the complexity, log into the infrastructure to do the deployment. So this image and AppGS stacks kind of like takes care of all that complexity. Now it will be deployed as a stateless application because the persistence or the statefulness is provided by the underlying Postgres database, which it will be connecting to. And the details of the Postgres database is as part of the properties section. It requires a base key generation, and that also part kind of like we are taking care of. We are generating a key and making it a part of the secret key base and injecting it in the pod itself. So you don't have to worry about these things. Now this pod, the open project, will connect to the Postgres host. As you can see, this is the Postgres database that got deployed in the previous deployment, open project Postgres 13.x. We have a we follow the naming convention, which is similar to the Kubernetes naming convention. The port is assigned, and the DB and the user is the one which got created as per the setup.yaml. And the password for the open project user is coming out of the vault. So it's kind of a full package solution. All you and if you are participating, you can see that all you are interacting with the GitHub repository, setting up the webhooks, and enabling it kind of like the GitOps to get all these pods deployed on the AppG platform. It's pretty simple. Anybody can do it, and you don't have to know any of the complexity of the Docker Kubernetes.
All right, so I'm going to make those 2 edits. So change the notification email to my personal email, and then I'm changing the context to Rajat / my personal context. And I'm going to trigger the deployment by committing the change. So in this case, we are leveraging the Kubernetes DNS. So this name, the way the open project is finding the Postgres is within the Kubernetes cluster. And it's using the port hosted by that that process or container, and it is using the Kubernetes DNS to find it. And we have a naming convention that we follow, so it's easier to find and name other services.
That's an important point, Rajat. And again, the Postgres database could be sitting in a private network, even in the cloud, and accessing the database and wherever you are running the open project. In this case, you are running on the same the namespace, so it is easy to find. But many time people ask that how do I access it from outside? How do I look into the database? We have another image for that Adminer, although we are not doing a demo of that today. But this is something that we had covered in our 2 previous demos, putting an Adminer image, which is sitting side by side the Postgres. And that Adminer image with MFA, multi-factor authentication enable, can potentially enable you to look into the database if you know the password and you set up the MFA on your like mobile phone and all, then you should be able to do that. So a lot of things that we are doing here is a complex task from the developers and operation point of view, because they primarily they have the knowledge about their like the language they are writing, the software programming language. But these things like the ingress part, the load balancer part, the networking part, the whole Docker Kubernetes becomes a complete beast to them to understand it, and at the same time continue focusing on their application development. So we kind of like we have a package solution, what we call the AppG platform and stacks, to manage the whole complexity and bringing it to you so that you can easily, very in the simple GitOps process, you can deploy it. So open project deployment, again, it is following the exact same process. You may be wearing the developers or operation hat. You made the minor change in the AppG YAML manifest file. The stack, which is the open project, is prefabricated for you. You made kind of like the no material change in the repository. It knows where your Postgres database is, and it is connecting, and it will be doing the right thing to bring you the and the. So far, you haven't seen that. Yeah, Rajat got a mail that this open project is deployed, and the URL is also. Let me spend some time on the URL. As you can see that this URL is a numeric value dot lotus the cloud at the hand inside. The Lotus Cloud domain, I would like to mention a few words about it. It is a domain which is owned by us, Cloud Control, and we are running a kind of like the public DNS service. So you can, if you know the public IP or the private IP of this then it will immediately resolve to that. So and our AppG platform is running on the Lotus Cloud domain, and we are getting ingress for the application along with the Let's Encrypt certificate, so that we can offer you a HTTPS interface directly on top of this URL. So this URL will get constructed, and Rajat will click that and go there. Now, if you build a cluster, we are available in AWS Marketplace and in this quarter, and next we'll be available in other cloud marketplaces as well. As you build the AppG platform, you will get a similar URL, the hex of the public IP plus lotus.cloud. Rajat, you can, at this time, we want to flash our AWS Marketplace also offering this too.
Okay, so can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, so give me 1 second. My Chrome seems to be hanging. Give me a second. Let me fix
Sure.
that.
While Rajit is fixing that, we have established AppG platform in a fully self-service way in the AWS Marketplace. We went live in April of this year, and we are in the process of taking our product to Azure and GCP also in coming months.
So we are back. Did you see that? I think there was a Chrome.
There's some interruption. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think you are still live.
I was still live. Yeah. So
yeah,
that's,
that's good. So
yeah.
I'm going to share the screen again. Give me 1 second. So let me. So while we are waiting, Sanjeev, can you please kind of get into? I know we prepared this slide, kind of talking about the value of our platform in terms of increasing the agility, reducing the risk, and reducing the cost. So can you guys just cover that while I'm setting up the Chrome back?
Sure. Yeah. And again, these three items and all this evolves around the simplicity. The more simpler your operation is, better it is to manage it. And the simplicity also offers you the agility. And as you can see that you get a Kubernetes cluster built in no time. And I think we have in AWS Marketplace, other marketplace. Within 30 minutes, you have a production-grade Kubernetes cluster ready to deploy any workload. So, and like some people ask that there are other automation tools out there. CloudFormation is there, ARM, Azure Resource. Again, there's so many. Terraform is there. What we kind of bring to the table is you don't have to learn any of those things. For us, our platform is much more application centric. You focus on your applications and where you manage, that means like the source control, where you want to keep it. Our platform directly hook up with your the source code directly using the GitOps via the webhook. We have other modes to integrate and take your applications live on any cloud and even on-prem. Now, this whole process increases your agility, within hours, and you can see that we are deployed 3 core components, like the HashiCorp Vault for secret management, Postgres as a database with the pre-seated database and user creation, and the Open Project. All 3 kind of going live within, say, the 45 minutes. That type of agility we bring to you. Now, this was just a glimpse of our 3 of our stacks. We have hundreds of stacks which are suited for most of the open source component. And if we do not have a stack which kind of meets your requirement, we have ability to build the new stack for you within kind of a week or 2. So that type of speed that we bring to you. Rajat, you are
Right.
back?
Yeah. So I'm back. I'm sharing the screen again. So I got the email. That the open project deployed successfully, and I got. I know you're talking about the URL when I got disconnected. So I'm going to use this URL. I'm going to open this URL in the same window here. So this is the you. So there you are. So the open project is deployed now, and I think it also comes with a couple of sample projects. You can see that all the data is initialized. Sanjeev, anything else you want to
Yeah,
cover
so
here?
this open project, as it got deployed, it connected to the Postgres database, and everything got deployed. And Rajat, if you want to like do a sign in also, just to show you that how that process works. So it comes with a default user and password, which we have to change on the first login.
So
I think we will skip before that part. Rajat, like let this focus on the demo project.
okay.
So
So here is the workspace. There's the data. So good to pull all the data. So it's basically up and running now with and the URL. So you can see that the URL is auto generated with a certificate, and it's now connected to the Postgres database behind the scenes, and also it is using the vault for the secret. Uh, it's all up and running now.
that's correct. Yeah, yeah. Now, a few words about the open project. Again, all of us have been done with. I have been in the software business for past 25 years, and dealt with many project management. So project management itself is a big, I would say, thing in terms of the software development. And the reason it is, and again, like I have seen. I have been part of the system where we are using the different type of project management tools, Microsoft Project, like sometimes Jira. Monday is another Smartsheet. These are another tools. Now, what I see unique about the Open Project is they have a community edition, which we are deployed today. They also have an kind of like enterprise edition and the cloud version. Now, the project management, especially like with the GDPR compliance, is becoming more and more critical. That this software is capturing your future plan, how you are developing, who, and lots of personal information, the budgeting information, and also that what exactly you are doing. So you want to protect this whole ecosystem of project management and make sure that it is meeting with all the regulatory requirements. So as per GDPR compliance, if you are in Europe, like the data has to remain like local. And many of the cloud providers may not be kind of like guaranteeing you that. That's why the many people are trying to move to a project management system where they either develop in-house, like manage in-house, or now the other aspect is that some project management system requires a desktop tool installation like Microsoft Project and all, and it's a kind of like complex way to manage it, and the licensing cost is very high. But in this case, this system, it has a web URL, very easy dashboard. It also has the issue tracking and the bug tracking integration, and a built-in bug tracking system also. So there are many features it is offering. So if you are looking to deploy open project either on-prem or kind of like in the cloud, which you have selected the cloud to remain in your local the region and all, we have a solution for you. And this will be a fully resilient open project deployment backed by a Postgres that can be configured master slave. So many resiliency layer, and as you can see that you can go live within an hour, like take it completely live, build a cluster and go live, and without knowing the complexity of the Docker community and even the project, this how this open project kind of like get deployed. All these things we are bringing to you with the simplicity of the AppG platform and AppGS tags.
All right. Thanks, Sanjeev. So to summarize, the application is up and running. So we covered the deployment of Vault, deployment of Postgres, and deployment of Open Project. We did all that through the AppZ platform. It's all running in a cluster that we showed you earlier. Behind the scenes, the platform took care of the complexity of dealing with Kubernetes, creating the pods, configuring the service resources, the ingress, the load balancers, and also the certificate and the URL. Now, those of you who are continuing in Slack, please continue with us. I will help you through the process. Any questions, please reach out. And we'll be coming back with more workshops. Our plan is to be on the air every other week. So we'll see you in 2 weeks. And meanwhile, if you want to try our platform, the platform is available in Edelweiss Marketplace. You'll be able to browse and download it and subscribe and install the cluster. As Sanjeev said, the cluster will be up and running within about 30 to 40 minutes. And as soon as the cluster is up and running, you will get the instructions in email as well as in CloudWatch. You can start deploying exactly the same way we deployed today. Without knowing the underlying details, you'll be able to deploy the application or applications directly from your Git repository. All right. Thanks, Sanjeev. So anything else you want to add, Sanjeev?
No, I think.
All right. Hey, thank you very much. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
joining. Please, don't hesitate to contact us if you have any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.